What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome back to episode 4 of Money Mondays, an exclusive live event series where we interview the top creators, asking how they're making money on LinkedIn, and the top brands, how they're spending money on LinkedIn. If you joined us last week, we had Sarah Adam, the head of influencer marketing at Wix, to run us through their creator strategy on LinkedIn for 2025. And today, we're changing the tide, going back to the creator side and interviewing one of the largest and most influential creators on LinkedIn with 400,000 followers. Without further ado, let's welcome Melissa Grabiner. Melissa, what's going on?
Hi, AJ. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I don't know if I would say I'm one of the most influential, but appreciate your kind words.
I mean, I would argue that 400,000 people following you, you definitely have something to say and something that people really resonate with. So I'm so excited to dive in for the next 30 to 40 minutes. And again, for the folks listening, throw your questions in the comments. We'll save some time at the end for Q&A. But there's really, I think, just so much to cover. And I'm really just excited to dive in. So as we kind of go through today, first off, Melissa, where are you even tuning in from? I know you travel a bit. I think last time I saw you was in Chicago. Are you still in Chicago?
I'm in rainy, cold Chicago. Yes.
Amazing. And again, for anybody listening, throw your location in the comments. I am currently in Austin, Texas. It's also raining. It was pouring this morning. What am I even saying raining? It was pouring this morning. I'm wearing a sweater for the first time as we get kind of closer to the end of the year and just getting ready for the holidays coming up. So obviously you are based in Chicago, and something so fun as we kind of think about how we met is we met at a creator meetup, right? And I'm going to kind of jump slides for a second and dive into some pictures. So shout out Reno and Camille, and we literally met at a Chicago Bulls game. And I guess like the first question I want to just touch on, Melissa, before we dive into kind of your background is the power of community. And how is the creator community kind of given back to you and the importance of meeting other creators?
Oh, I mean, I'll just start by saying LinkedIn has absolutely changed my life. And I know it sounds a little cliche. My life is so different now, even from a year ago. Last November was the first time I did a LinkedIn Live event. And when I think back through the duration of this year, through LinkedIn, I've met incredible friends like yourself. I have done a handful of LinkedIn Live events. I've been asked to be on numerous webinars. I've partnered with incredible companies with brand partnerships. And I started a business helping job seekers. And this was all through the power of LinkedIn. So I'm here to say that if you put in the time and you really, make time for this platform, it can come back to you in so many positive ways.
And Melissa, what's so cool about your background is you're no longer someone who just works a job, and now you're literally coaching job seekers. And I think a lot of people don't know that you recently made that jump and you're now a 9-to-5 quitter. What has that jump been like? And for maybe some folks listening, maybe looking for a job, how can they work with you?
Yeah, so I have been laid off 3 times, actually 3 times in the past 5 years. I was with the company for 18 years, and when they moved my position to Boston, I was laid off. I then joined another company. Shortly thereafter, I was laid off there after 18 months, and then I joined another company and I was laid off over the summer. And the way I started my coaching business was people were reaching out to me on LinkedIn all the time, asking me if I helped with resumes, LinkedIn profile optimization, interview prep, job search strategies. And I thought, I love helping people, and I've been in talent acquisition for 20 years. I think I could actually do something really great with this. And so I started a small company helping job seekers. Started it maybe 5 months ago. It's been so much fun, incredibly successful. I have very, very rarely have even showcased my offerings. A lot of my clients are word of mouth. And so, of course, that means everything to me. If my clients are happy with the service I'm providing, then, and they tell their friends and their former colleagues, then that to me means so much. And so most of my business, like I said, is through referrals, but it's really, really taken off. I've been able to coach almost 150 people in a very, very short period of time. And there is absolutely nothing I love to do more than help job seekers. And I also felt that I was at a point where I was tired of being laid off from corporate America, and I was tired of my future being in the hands of a CEO and a decision maker. And these people didn't even really know me. I said, I'm done with that. I've been in the corporate world for over 20 years. I've had 3 layoffs in a short period of time, and I was always a top performer at my companies. It wasn't anything to do with performance. It was a broader business decision. And I said, I'm done, and I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do and start my own thing. And I also started another small company working with my husband, who is a former chief marketing officer. He's a brilliant writer. So we started a small business with the brand partnerships that I'm doing. And so through the power of LinkedIn, I've not only created a side business helping job seekers, but I also started another business with my husband, it's so fun partnering with him. He's so smart. And so that's been great. And then in January, I am doing a cohort with someone I also met on LinkedIn. We're doing a month-long cohort program to help job seekers as well.
I love it. You seriously have one of the coolest backgrounds. And I think something that really sticks with your content is you really focus on evoking emotion. And one of the first times I met you, it's so obvious that you truly care about your audience. Everything you do, first and foremost, is about your audience before you even think about monetization. And of course, it's a Money Mondays here, so we're going to talk about monetization today. But I think a huge takeaway is just you've always done what's best for your audience first, which is why I think you've been able to grow so quickly and why I think you'll only continue to grow and really have that longevity as a creator. And you can see some of the stats here, aside from just the vanity of 400,000 followers, you're ranked the #2 female creator worldwide. And I think the #1 HR creator worldwide, which is just mind boggling. So it's so cool to chat with you today. And, you know, one of the things that you said is kind of following your passion, and you kind of fell into this space. I mean, very similar to myself and even Creator Match, right? I consider myself a LinkedIn creator. I was at creator events, creator conferences. We'd go in a circle of what is your main platform? And they'd say, oh, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And then I'd kind of raise my hand in the back and say, you know, LinkedIn. And everyone thought I was crazy. So I really leaned into it and saw that there was something that needed to happen to really elevate the LinkedIn creator community and match brands with LinkedIn creators. You can see some of the partners that we have here. We run hundreds of sponsored posts, which has been so exciting. And you can see again some of the great pictures if folks are just tuning in of how we met. And a really funny story, Camille, who you see in the all black by the Chicago Bulls logo, I literally saw a LinkedIn post of his talking about his creator role at the Chicago Bulls. Thought it was so interesting. I literally cold DM'd him on LinkedIn. I said, let's chat. Would love to hear more. And he said, you should come to Chicago and fly out for a Bulls game. I'll take you guys out. You can bring a couple LinkedIn creators. And we brought Reno, who's in the white, and then Melissa in the red jacket. And it was such a fun kind of LinkedIn creator outing. And there's so many cool opportunities that really happen on LinkedIn. So as we dive into the meat of today's discussion, Melissa, obviously it's all about live events. And you are someone who I would consider who does more live events than the average creator. So I guess, why have you leaned into live events? And let's first talk about the growth side. How has it helped you grow as a creator?
Yeah, so I want to use the LinkedIn platform as a voice to help job seekers. And most of my content is around either mental health. I've had issues and struggles with my mental health on and off throughout the years, and I'm certainly not ashamed to share that. I think a lot of people, especially in today's day and age, with so much going on in the world and so much going on in the job market, are really struggling. And so I want people to know that they're not alone. So I post a lot about mental health. And because I have a background in talent acquisition and HR, when I started this LinkedIn journey, like really getting serious about it, probably about a year ago, I decided that I wanted to use this platform to help people. And so I decided to gear a lot of my posts around job seeker tips, tools, and motivation. And because there are so many people, you know, clearly using LinkedIn and trying to obtain a new opportunity, it was really a perfect synergy of my expertise and my passion, coupled with predominantly why people are on the LinkedIn platform. And so my posts just started taking off. And I remember I had a couple weeks in the last year where I gained over 10,000 followers in a week. I had some posts that went like crazy viral. But really the best part of LinkedIn for me, when I think through my journey, is truly the people I've met along the way. Like, I've met people like yourself that are now like good friends of mine. And so I would say to anyone on this call, whether you're looking to monetize LinkedIn, whether you're looking to simply grow your audience, you know, stick with it. A lot of people ask me, how did I gain so many followers? And what I tell all of them is that it takes time and it takes commitment. You know, I didn't wake up one day with 400,000 followers. I am committed to the platform. I am on LinkedIn probably 4 to 6 hours a day, on and off all day. And I engage with my audience. I think that's a key thing. I think what I see a lot of people do which I think misses the mark, is I see people post, and then when people comment on their post, they don't necessarily engage back with those comments. And what I try to do is every time I post, I try to comment on everyone's post back. Now, if I post something and I get 3,000 comments, I simply don't have the bandwidth to comment on 3,000 comments, but I try to engage with at least 90% of the comments. And LinkedIn isn't all about taking from other people. You have to give, you have to engage with other people, you have to show interest in other people. So it's a combination of, you really need to spend time on the platform, and you really, really need to engage with your audience. I think those are the two key factors. And that, again, it takes a lot of time. I've had this conversation with a lot of creators that are having very large followings like myself. And we all say the same thing, that you have to be committed to it. It doesn't have to become your life, but you have to spend time on this platform in order for it to grow.
And I think the takeaway right there is, don't post and ghost, right? If you expect people to engage with your content, you, as the
100%.
creator, you should engage with the people who are taking the time to engage with you. And also, kind of what comes around goes around. If I am going to engage with your content, you'll likely engage with mine, and that's how you really grow. It's not just the content creation, but spending that time to engage. So I guess first takeaway, Melissa, from today's conversation is, if I'm a creator or even a brand, do you think that doing more live events is a good strategy for growth in terms of followers? You mentioned something, 10,000 followers in terms of growth in 1 week. You do a ton of live events, and I'll pull up in a second how many you've done, but is that a good strategy and a good hack to grow on LinkedIn?
Yeah, it is. But to be honest with you, like, the reason I have done these events and I continue to do them, 90% of them is geared towards job seekers. So it's job seekers tips and tools and helping people looking for work. So I think that if someone's going to do a live event, it has to be in the spirit of helping other people. You have to have a topic that's going to resonate with people. And so I typically partner with one person on each event. There's actually a group of 4 of us that we do one live event every month, but all the other events I've done, it's just been me and someone else. And what we do is we post it on our own page twice before the event to build momentum and excitement. Absolutely. When I do these events, I see a huge spike in my audience, in my followers. So it's not uncommon for me to do an event and have, within 30 minutes, 200 new followers. So it's absolutely a great way to build your followers, but I don't, and I would think that most people don't do the LinkedIn Live events simply for that reason. But absolutely, for someone that is looking to grow their audience, you absolutely want to do these LinkedIn Live events. And this is a great way that you can meet new people, meet new connections. I've actually had companies reach out to me after I've done the events, really, really excited about the message that we gave during the event, and wanted to talk more about, what I'm doing on LinkedIn, and if there's a way that we can partner together. You have to be comfortable talking in front of people. I've had some of these events where, I think the first one I did, we had over 11,000 people. I had no idea what to expect, and I just couldn't believe how many people joined that event. And I was scared the first time. I don't mind public speaking. I've always loved getting in front of an audience and talking. But 11,000 people during the first event, I was like, oh my God, I hope I don't completely botch this. But that event, and again, it was about a year ago now, I gained a huge amount of followers, met a ton of great people. And I thought, you know what? I was able to help such a large number of people at one time. And it was a lot of fun. I'm going to keep doing these. And that's why I continue to do them month after month, sometimes more than once a month. And, the other thing that really kept me going was the people that would reach out to me directly and say, I was just on your LinkedIn Live event. You really gave me a lot of motivation. You gave me some great tips and tools as I continue to embark on my job search. If I am helping even one person, then to me, it's absolutely worth it.
And there it goes back to the same theme of how you've always done what's best for your audience, and you've truly cared to help as many as you can. Of course, when you get to the thousands of comments, it's hard to reply to everybody. But I'm sure a lot of those also, since it's such a bottom of funnel kind of marketing activity, I'm sure a lot of those end up becoming maybe one-on-one customers to your coaching as well. So maybe it won't get as much reach as a very viral post, but they see you, they love you, they hear the advice, say, I want to get one-on-one time with Melissa, and that's what I'm going to do. And also, you mentioned that brands noticed you. Right. So if you are a creator who wants to diversify your revenue, your income streams outside of just sponsored posts, you need something to share with that brand. It can't just be, hey, here's the idea. Here's me on stage at an event. Here's, the amount of people that attended, all those different details to then get a partnership. So that's kind of the next thing I want to talk about, Melissa. Outside of growth, let's dive into monetization. Again, this is Money Mondays. Let's talk about money. And I'm going to share on screen here. Here are just some of the events that you've attended over the last few weeks. Some of them you've hosted, some of them you joined, and you can see thousands of attendees, which is, again, it's very rare. It's so bottom of funnel in marketing to have people come up live to join your session. And also what's so interesting here, especially for the brands in the audience, is you can see here that these are in partnership with brands.
Yeah.
So here's one I found from Teal about layoffs to landing a job. Here's one from Fair Comp. Here's one from Earn Better. These are just 3 examples. So I guess, Melissa, if someone doesn't know anything about the events space on LinkedIn, what does a partnership look like? How much money is involved? How do you go about pricing? I have so many questions, but if you could just set the table around this so people can get a better idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So LinkedIn itself does not provide a direct or standardized payment model for LinkedIn Live events. But there are definitely ways you can make money. And clearly, as you just showed, I have done, very well, money-wise regarding these events. I think a lot of it has to do with how many followers you have. So when these brands reach out to me and they see that my audience is rather large, they can assume that there's going to be a lot of followers on my LinkedIn Live events. Typically, we do have a pretty sizable audience. And I also receive a lot of engagement after the fact. I receive a lot of new followers after each of my events. So what I have been able to communicate to the brand, and each of these partnerships were a little bit different in nature. There was one I did with Fair Comp where I actually talked to the CEO of Fair Comp. He was on this event with me. And then the ones we have done for Teal wasn't on the call with Dom and I, but they sponsored the event. So as you showed, we had their logo on the invite, and then during the event, we talked a couple times about Teal. So whenever I partner with the brand on a LinkedIn Live event, they are paying me in some fashion, and the amount really depends on their involvement. So like I said, when I did one with Fair Comp, because I was talking directly to the CEO and it was just the 2 of us, he paid me a sizable amount of money. The one with Teal, Dom and I also made, pretty good money, but we also gave Teal a lot back in return, right? So we posted about the event twice on our page to build excitement and momentum. And then Teal came along with that invite. So everyone who saw my post saw Teal. And then there were a couple times throughout the event that Dom and I would not only talk about Teal, but like the benefits of using the platform. So a lot of it depends on how you are using the brand and how much you are talking about the brand during the event. And some of the brands, they just work in different ways. I think the cost also has to do with, what is the length of the event? Or am I going to do a 30-minute event? Am I going to do a 60-minute event? Am I going to do a 90-minute event? What is the format? Is it going to be a one-time deal? Are we going to do 3 different events? So I think that, the more you do these events with a brand, the more money that they're going to pay you. In terms of the amount, there isn't like a set amount that I think brands have to go by or pay. But from what I've seen, typically, from my experience, there was one LinkedIn Live event where I made up to $4,000. But I also gave a lot of shout outs to the brand, talked about the brand. So in reality, the brand was getting huge visibility from the LinkedIn Live event, coupled with the fact that I posted about them twice, as did my partner. There's another company I work with that they're a startup and they don't have big pockets, but I truly believe in the company and I love the leadership team and their mission resonates very deeply with me. For those events, I get paid $500 and I'm okay with that. I have a long-term relationship with this one particular organization. I have done sponsored posts for them before. They are lovely people. They are very good to work with. And to me, it's not only always about the money. Obviously, as a creator, you want to make as much as you can, but I always try to be fair with my partners as well. So this particular company, they don't have a lot of money. They don't have deep pockets. They're a startup organization. And they came to me and they said, we want to partner with you. We don't have a lot of money. And I thought to myself, I am happy making $500 an hour to mention your company. But again, I believe in the company. There have been companies that have asked me to do events that I don't align with their audience. And I think the one thing that a lot of people get wrong who do paid sponsorships, and this is very important to me, and AJ, I'm sure you'll agree with this, there are a lot of companies that reach out to me that want to do partnerships. And it's very important to me that I'm authentic with my audience. And so here's an example. A lot of fintech companies reach out to me and they say, I love your content. I'd love to partner with you on either a LinkedIn Live event or a sponsored post. The problem is predominantly my audience are not in fintech. I don't have a fintech background. So if I started posting about fintech or did an event sponsored by a fintech company, my audience would say, why is Melissa talking about fintech when for as long as I've been following her, she's never mentioned, this industry before. So it's really important to me as a content creator that I have authenticity with my audience, and that the companies that I work with, again, either on an event, either on, when I do a lot of podcasts, they have to be in my wheelhouse. And my wheelhouse is mostly the job seeker, mental health, HR best practices. If there's alignment between the brand and myself, and we can agree upon a price, then absolutely, let's partner together. There are some companies that have reached out to me and said, I don't have, a lot of money to pay you. Can we still work together? And, in fairness to me, and again, it's not always about the money, but if I'm only doing 1 to 2 LinkedIn Live events a month, and one company is going to pay me, $200, and another company is going to pay me a couple $1,000s, and they're in my wheelhouse and I believe in the mission and the values of the company, then I'm going to go with the company that is going to pay me more money.
I mean, so much to unpack there. I think a couple of things you said, always focus on audience alignment. I think it takes years to build an audience, but it takes one day to lose your audience's trust with one bad partnership. So make sure that you do your due diligence. It's exciting to get partnerships and inquiries from brands, especially as you grow, but you have to be very careful and really tread lightly. I think you said you earned $4,000 for one live event, which is so exciting as a creator to know that more money is starting, I don't want to say to flood yet, but starting to move over to LinkedIn and coming from those other channels like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I also think that for all the brands and agencies who are listening, paying a Melissa for a one-off post, it sounds great, it's simple, but it's not going to really convert, right? Especially if Melissa's never spoken about that X brand or that company, it's not going to convert, versus having her promote an event, maybe paying her for 2-3 posts for the build up and the recap, and then having her on a series, whether it's your own company branded series, whether she's interviewing the CEO or the chief product officer, or you're going on her live event series and leveraging her audience and her reach. And a huge hack is sharing that invite list. So create a shared RSVP list so you can collect emails and do lead generation. So a couple $1,000, you get some sponsored content and some live events. What's your thought on that strategy, Melissa?
No, absolutely. And the companies that I work with, either, doing a live event or doing sponsored posts, I prefer longer term partnerships. I am not a fan of a one and done. So I'm going to post XYZ company on Tuesday and XYZ company on Thursday, and never post about them again. Like I said earlier, authenticity with my audience is super important. So if my audience and my followers see that I'm posting about a particular company more than once, I think in their minds, they might think, well, Melissa really trusts this company and really believes in them because she's posting about them, not just one time. AJ, I want to mention one other thing regarding the LinkedIn Live events, and another way that individuals can make money. So a lot of companies, what they do is they say, we'll pay you X amount of dollars to host the event, but we will have what's called a revenue share model. So in other words, I worked with a company called Faircom, and I got paid a flat fee, but I also got paid a percentage of all the signups that resulted from the LinkedIn Live event. So I don't remember what it was, maybe 20 or 30%. So in addition to getting the flat fee, it was, okay, Melissa, we're going to do this LinkedIn Live event. And for every person that you convert to a customer, let's say it was 30%, you're going to get a 30% rev share. So that's another way that creators can make money by doing these events. If there are companies that either don't have the budget or aren't looking to shell out X amount of dollars as a flat fee, there are a lot of companies that are now looking into this rev share model, or a combination of both. So I think these are both different ways to make money. And I've had conversations with every one of my partners where we talked about all of these options. I think there's pros and cons for everything in life, right? So I'm very easy to work with my brands, and I'm very reasonable as well. And for these companies that tend to be startups that don't have deep pockets, I tend to be a little more lax in terms of how much they're going to pay me. But then if the dollar amount flat fee is not as much, I'll say, okay, well, I would like a rev model. And the positive of that is that if you have 100 people, sign up for this company as a result of your LinkedIn Live event, and let's say my share of it was $50 a person, well, that can add up pretty quickly. So I think it's important for anyone on this call, if you're going to make money, and also know that you can always negotiate. When I coach my job seeker clients, I always say to them, when you get a job offer, negotiate. If you don't ask, you don't get, and you always have to be your own best advocate. The worst, I would say, the vast majority of time when I've negotiated with brands, they gave me what I was looking for.
And I think also the negotiation power and leverage comes from when you have case studies, right? So staying on the analogy of jobs, so you negotiate a higher salary when you have previous job experience. You say, hey, this past company paid me X. Like that's the new floor. Similarly, in the sponsorship world, yes, it's important to negotiate, but I also think that if it's your first sponsored live event, just doing one to see how it goes. I mean, if I'm a brand and I'm paying a creator, I'm curious to know, well, how many attendees are going to show up? How many attended in the previous event? How did the posts go that were promoting it? How many email signups and RSVPs were there? What was the sentiment? What was the lighting and the audio, and just how did it look? And just having those case studies, I think, is so critical as a creator, especially for those first and second paychecks. Versus now, Melissa, you're probably able to have way more leverage and negotiation power because you can say, okay, well, I partnered with this brand and this brand and this brand, and here are 3 examples of case studies in the last month of what I've done well.
No, and that's so important. And even when I work with brands on a collaboration and not a LinkedIn Live event, but more either, ideally a series of posts, I go to them with my statistics. Like here is my annual impressions per month. Here's my annual engagement per month. Here's how my past sponsorships have worked with other organizations that I've worked at. I think it's only fair when I'm working with companies that they have a broad understanding of this is what you're going to get if you work with me. Now, absolutely no one can guarantee how well a sponsor post is going to do. I have some sponsor posts that hit it through the roof. I have others that have very little engagement. I have no authority over the algorithm and other factors. And perhaps some of my posts that don't do as well aren't written as well, but not every one of my posts does well. What I can guarantee the clients that I work with is that my husband and I, because him and I write together our sponsor posts, that we're going to write the best post for you in the most authentic voice while making sure that we build excitement for the brand. I always make sure the brand approves the verbiage. I will never post without the brand's approval. I think that's really important. There has to be that true partnership. And I always follow up with the brand a couple days after. And I say, okay, this is the engagement of either the LinkedIn Live event. This was the engagement of the post. And one thing I always ask the brand is, how many signups did you get as a result of my post? Or how many signups did you receive as a result of the event? So it's very important to me too, that when I do a post or I do these events, I don't just say, okay, I'm done, next, wash my hands of it. I want to know long-term, are you still getting signups a week after the event? Like, stay in contact with me, tell me. And perhaps if I do a post that doesn't do as well, let's figure out why, and perhaps we change the messaging. But it's really important that creators are open to the feedback of the companies that they work with. It truly has to be a partnership between the two.
I love what you said about once the partnership wraps up and the post goes live, that does not mean the partnership is truly wrapped up. You, as the creator, take the initiative to follow up. And of course, you can see the vanity metrics like likes, comments, shares, and of course the impressions, which are private to the creator, but you can't see the conversions. You can't see the results, how it really impacted revenue and what happened internally, because those are not your analytics that you own as a creator. Only the brand sees them. And I could tell you right now, as someone who is the founder of Creator Match, who does hundreds of partnerships across creators, brands, agencies, such few creators follow up. And I don't know if that's because just they don't know to follow up or because they're so focused on that next partnership. And the ones who do, it feels very, very authentic. So a huge takeaway for creators, follow up. And also, it's okay if it didn't perform well. I mean, again, at the end of the day, you don't own the algorithm. It's not an email newsletter, but it is social media. And if something doesn't go well, I would rather have you bring it up and brainstorm ways to combat and improve for the next post, or even say, hey, out of goodwill, I'll make an additional post at no extra cost or throw a link in my newsletter, versus hiding the fact that it didn't perform well. And brands really do care. So remember to follow up, ask for those results. And also, even if you go separate ways after that initial partnership, you're going to use those results for the next brand partnership, because brands want stats. Oftentimes, especially on LinkedIn, the creators don't have anything to share, especially outside of just vanity metrics. They don't have the link clicks. They don't have the conversion, how it really impacted. Did it crash the website, whatever it may be, and have that brand even share a testimonial. What was it like working with Melissa? It could even be a testimonial outside of performance, but just Melissa was incredible to work with. She truly cared. She hopped on a call with our team to share feedback, and it was a great partnership. So follow up.
Yeah, I just want to say something really quickly. And AJ, I think you're going to love this. So I worked with a company last year for 4 months, right? Sponsored posts. And they decided, I think around the summer, that they were going to kind of like slow down the brand partnerships. And I said, that's fine. We had a great 4 months. I still love your company. Let's continue the relationship. And I would continue to engage with on the company page, they would post, and I would continue to engage with the posts. What do you know? 2 weeks ago, the company called me and said, we're actually looking to beef up our efforts again with brand partnerships. Would you like to work with us again for the next 3 months? And I think part of it is because I had such a good relationship with them the first time around. And I think I was incredibly easy to work with. Just had a great relationship with the company. And I was thrilled that they called me back. And I said, absolutely. And I think part of it, perhaps they saw that I still engage with their company, and I'm a big fan of their company. And so companies see that. They see who engage. A lot of people in marketing are kind of owning their LinkedIn pages. They see who's engaging. And so even if a partnership ends for whatever reason, first of all, you never want to end on bad terms. I've never ended a partnership of mine on a bad term, like ever. And I won't allow myself to ever do that. But you always want to keep the relationship going, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. And like I said, when this company called me, a couple of weeks ago and said, we want you for another 3 months. And because my follower count has increased, my rates increased, right? Because my cost per post or a series of posts is for the most part based on my number of followers. Well, now I have significantly more followers than I did when I initially embarked on this relationship with them. And all of a sudden I was being paid more.
And I think what's interesting as well, Melissa, is you said that, you didn't lose tie with the brand. And also, again, it's not just tied to performance, right? And I've had creators that I've worked with at Creator Match for some partnerships where on paper, from a performance standpoint, they knocked it out of the park. They crushed it. They were impossible to work with. They didn't respond to emails, texts, anything. And it was just an uphill battle. Versus the creators who, again, maybe didn't perform as well, but were such a pleasure to work with, went above and beyond, were sharing product feedback. Those are the partners that brands really want. Of course, performance is a part of it, but it's also about the communication, your attitude. And you ideally are that ideal customer profile. So share that feedback if you're testing a product or service, and help the brand outside of just performance. Can you share an example of a notable comment of someone who DM'd you or someone who commented on your post saying, hey, Melissa, this is awesome. I'm going to check out X product or brand? It goes beyond just performance.
Oh, it happens all the time. I mean, every time I do a sponsored post, I have people that reach out to me on LinkedIn saying, thank you so much for sharing about XYZ company. I'm going to check them out, or I check them out and I think this would work really well for my job search. Or, I worked with Notion and Skillshare and all these other companies, depending on what the company does. Skillshare, for example, I would love to learn more about the offerings of Skillshare. Thanks for your post. I'm going to check them out. And so those comments to me, like, that is so rewarding. Like, for me, doing these sponsorships, these partnerships is not just about the money. It's a lot of fun collaborating with brands. Sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking because you do that post and you're like, oh, I pray and hope and cross my fingers that the post does well. And like I said earlier, some of them do better than others, but it's really fun. And here's the other thing, AJ, I want to mention, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, is that before I work with a company, I have to understand the company and I have to test the company out, right? So I'll say to them, I need access to your website. I need access as if I was a job seeker or I was a customer. It's really important to me that I understand the vision and the mission of the company and what my followers would receive if they then joined or, partnered with that company. So let's say it was a company that helped with resume writing. For example, as someone who would be partnering with them, I have to vouch for my liking of the company and feeling it's really going to help the people that I'm posting to. So having that relationship, and it shows the brand too that you really care about it. It's not just about the money, but you really want to understand. And I've had companies that have reached out to me, and when I took a deeper dive into their business or their business model, I thought to myself, high level, this might make sense for my followers, but like I, at the end of the day, like it doesn't sit right with me simply because I don't think there's alignment, and I have turned those companies down. So I would say for anyone who's looking to partner with brands, whether on an event or not, or a sponsored post, it's really important that you understand the company, you get to know what their pain points are, and view it from the eyes of the person who's actually going to use their services, because not only does that help you write better content with your sponsored posts, but I think it gives more authenticity as well.
And I love also what you said about, there are ways to partner with creators outside of just here's X $1,000, Melissa, make one a la carte post, which also is going to be more expensive than a discount for a bundle, omni-channel, etc. But if I'm a brand or agency, I'm asking myself, okay, there are this pool of LinkedIn creators who have not done a lot of partnerships, so the opportunity is wide open. How can I find those ideal creators who are in my world, my ICP, where my audience lives, and they're influential voices? And how can I build deep relationships with just a few creators to start off? And don't just have that transactional approach, but how can you do different things? Like, I'm going to pay Melissa for a couple sponsored posts here. I'm going to have her hop into a webinar or live event with us here. I'm going to ask her for product feedback here, and have different touch points. And then even outside of that partnership, if someone's asking for something and the answer or a solution is that brand, she'll mention it because she feels like she's a part of that brand and the future. Even it can turn into an advisor role. I mean, I think you're an advisor at a couple of companies, and a lot of companies today would love creators to become advisors because you know how to market the product often better than the brand could do it themselves.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning this. I'm a partner, a brand partner, with 3 companies. I'm an advisor, I guess you could say. I had 3 companies in a span of a short period of time reach out to me saying, I love your content. I love what you're about, and all 3 of them are startup organizations, but we'd love for you to be on, not the board of directors, but we'd love for you to be one of a few of our advisors. And that has been so incredibly rewarding. And it all goes back to the power of LinkedIn. And so these folks all saw me on LinkedIn and they liked what I had to say in terms of my content. And so being an advisor to 3 companies not only has allowed me to learn so much from a professional standpoint, but it's pretty damn cool. In the past, I've always worked in corporate America. And now I'm an advisor to 3 companies, all due to the power of LinkedIn. And it's super fun. And, the other thing I do a lot are webinars. So I get asked to be on webinars all the time. I love doing webinars. Most of them are with the audience of job seekers, mental health, things that are, predominantly in my wheelhouse. But the power of LinkedIn has also gotten my name out there where companies are reaching out to me saying, we'd love for you to be in the webinar, and I get paid for those. Not all of them, I don't do webinars to get paid, but there are some companies that have said, we'll pay you $500 or whatever it could be if you spend an hour and talk on our webinar. And then if the company wants me to post about the webinar on my page, then I would ask for more money, because in reality, to me, that's almost like a sponsored post. But another way that creators are able to make money is by, even doing these webinars. And what's so fun about LinkedIn, AJ, and why I love what you've created with Creator Match, is that I really believe, and I know you agree with this, I really believe that LinkedIn is just getting started. There's 1 billion people plus on the platform. And I think companies are now starting to realize that working with creators on LinkedIn for so many reasons makes so much good sense. So I feel like we're almost at the inception point. And so for anyone on this call who is looking to monetize their LinkedIn, would say, like I said earlier in the call, be engaged on the platform, spend time, write thoughtful posts, engage with your audience, connect with like-minded people. It takes a lot of time, but I promise you, and I'm living proof, it is so worth it. We're really getting started. And why I love Creator Match and what you've created is that you are creating partnerships between content creators like myself and brands that are looking for partnerships with content creators. And so I love your company because you're bringing the two sides together for a beneficial relationship for both ends. And I think for you, AJ, I think you're just getting started.
Well, that's so kind, Melissa, and it's been so great partnering with you as well. And one of the things that I learned you mentioned creator matching, out of our experience matching brands and creators, is two-sided. So if you're a creator, I would encourage you to pitch. And of course, the bigger you get, and once you have leverage like the Melissas, you probably don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, you probably get a lot of inbound, right? More than a creator who has 4,000 followers, right? You have 400,000. But not everybody is the size of Melissa's audience. So if you are small to mid-size as a creator, don't be afraid to pitch, and don't just pitch yourself in your stats. Pitch a creative idea. And what I mean by this is, I'm going to flash Teachable here as an example. So literally, and again, I'm going to practice what I preach here for a second. I approached Teachable and I said, hey, I have this idea for an event series called Money Mondays. We're going to interview creators, asking how they're making money on LinkedIn, and interview brands how they're spending money on LinkedIn. It works out perfectly because it's your ICP, or targeting creators, and you empower creators. You can turn knowledge into income, and income, monetization, Money Mondays. It kind of just completely made sense. So I literally pitched this idea, and we hopped on and we crafted something that made sense. And it was a very organic sponsorship. It wasn't a sponsor about, some food, CPG company, something random. It's very on brand. And even, you can think about tying it to a moment, a seasonal moment. So we obviously know Black Friday is coming up as we're in November, and you can approach brands as they're thinking about these moments, like Teachable here, and how they have a creator's guide to Black Friday. And you could literally say, if I'm Melissa, hey, I saw that you have this creator's guide to Black Friday. Here are 5 posts that I made mentioning the keyword creator. I want to post this guide on my channel. Let's do 2 posts and think about a more creative idea than just, hey, I am X creator. Show that you've done the research. It's similar, again, to job searching. Yes, you can have that spray and pray approach, but you can have a way more qualified and targeted outreach to see, hey, brand, here's a creative idea. And it's harder for them to say no if it has their brand logo and a creative idea and something tied to what they're doing.
Yeah. And I wanted to piggyback off of what you said. There are a very large, not a large, but there's a handful of companies that I have proactively pitched myself. Most of my relationships have been through inbound, where companies have reached out to me, but there are a select group of companies that I love and I've been interested in working in, and I've proactively reached out to them. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's almost like when you're searching for a job. What I always say to my clients is that if you apply to a job, don't just apply to the job, sit back, cross your fingers, and hope and pray you get called. You have to be proactive about it. You have to reach out to someone on LinkedIn who's a decision maker at the company, and either something's going to happen or it's not, but at least you tried if you don't hear back. And there are a couple brands that I reached out to that didn't get back to me, whether I targeted the wrong person, whether they weren't interested. But there were companies that did get back to me and say, I'll give you a perfect example. Fair Comp is one of them. They're a compensation tool, and I really love their company. And I reached out to the CEO directly, and I sent him a message on LinkedIn and told him who I was and why I was interested in his company. And he's like, yeah, let's get on a call. And we had a 3-month relationship, and it was lovely. But I think it's important that when someone is reaching out to a brand, they have to research the brand thoroughly. They have to understand the brand's values and missions. What are their pain points? Who are their customers? Study their content strategy. Have they worked with creators before? And then it's important to craft a personalized and clear message. So my message to him was very personalized. It was not what I can do for Fair Comp or what Fair Comp can do for me, but what can I do for them if we were to partner together? And it's about introducing yourself and your value. It's focusing on your strengths. It's not only the metrics in terms of, I have X number of followers and I was ranked X, number one this or number one that. This is the value outside of that I'm going to bring if we have a partnership. And then it's presenting a creative idea. So you want to go to them proactively with a specific idea that you feel the brand would really like. Whether it's suggesting a LinkedIn Live event, you want to be clear about the format, the type of content you'll create. But really showing this, when I reached out to them, they never worked with a company or a person like me before. They never had brand partnerships. And the guy calls me back and he's like, I don't really know how this works. And I said, well, the point of the partnership is that my goal is to bring brand awareness and excitement, and perhaps even engage with a new audience of customers for you. So you have to be very strategic in your message. And you also want to demonstrate social proof, right? So when I reach out to companies, I typically share engagement on my stats, such as comments, likes, shares, views, all the different stats that LinkedIn provides. They don't provide a lot, but they do provide some. And so I've always gone with my engagement metrics as well. And then I propose next steps. And so I think for people that are starting out, and I did this a lot when I was starting out working with brands, that I would proactively reach out to them. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Some companies might not even be aware that there are these sponsorships or these partnerships. And some companies might be really excited about the idea and say, God, I never thought of working with a collaborator or I don't like calling myself an influencer, but an influencer. And like FairComp was like, I love the idea. Let's get on a call. Let's figure this out and let's do it. And we had a 3-month relationship and it was lovely. So there's nothing wrong with pitching brands. You just have to be very methodical, thoughtful, and strategic in your approach.
And I love how you said it's not what they can do for you, but what you can do for them. Again, in anything, right? Mm-hmm. Adding value to that relationship, not just, hey, I have 400,000 followers, but here's what my audience is asking for. Here's what they love. Here's some, not just sample posts or stats, but stats on the keywords of the campaign. And it's okay. And it's actually encouraged, if you want to do more partnerships, have that targeted approach. And again, I'm telling you, a huge takeaway for the creators listening is share your creative ideas. De-risk yourself as a creator and get the brand excited about the idea. Even outside of looking at your engagements, of course, those stats are important, but get them so bought into the creative idea that it's not if, but just when it's going to happen, and share what you're going to talk about, how it's tied to, again, some seasonal moment, like going back to Teachable, and how it's tied to Black Friday. They have a creator's guide to Black Friday, how you're going to share that. They're obviously prioritizing it internally, and make sure to have that tailored approach. And what you can do as well from a pitching standpoint, we can see here, we have Melissa's profile here. I can pull up our Chrome extension and I can see all of her sponsorships. If I'm a brand looking through here, I can see, are the words and hashtags that she's talking about tied to my product or service? I can see some example sponsorships she's done, right? So I could say, okay, I only want, a couple different types. I'm going to get rid of this keyword and say I only want the sponsored posts, and kind of just getting an idea of what sponsored even looks like. I can see here, this was from the company Tango, and this was from another company. This was from Beam Jobs, right? And kind of and just getting an idea of what's possible, even just using this as inspiration. And again, on the other side, obviously brands probably pitch creators more than creators pitch brands, but have that idea. Hey, I love this post that you made from Tango. I'm thinking about doing something similarly. And then again, what you could do is you can go to her stats and not just look at these incredible stats. And by the way, Melissa, everything is up and to the right, not just by a couple percent, but like a couple 100%, which is crazy. But also if I type in those keywords, like let's just say job search, right? You can see all the updated stats. Or even if I'm a resume tool, typing in resume and seeing how her audience loves the text-based posts that mention resume, strong engagement rate. You can see month over month performance. And let's say it's a campaign focused on image. I can filter everything out and just see image, and everything lives here. So using these tools to no longer kind of shoot in the dark and be more in the know of what's going on both sides of the table, whether you're a creator, a brand, or an agency.
Yeah. And I would also say too, one of the things I've always kept in the back of my mind when I pitch brands is that I want to show enthusiasm, not desperation, right? So you want to be enthusiastic about working with the brand, but you don't want to sound desperate. I've had a couple brands reach out to me that were desperate to work with me. And I don't mean that by any means in a boastful way, but they kept following up and it was almost like I needed time to breathe and figure this out. And so I think on both ways, you want to be very, very enthusiastic. You don't want to show desperation, but I can't stress enough the importance of not sending generic pitches. Yes, you want to tailor your pitch to each particular brand. And I think a personalized message will stand out more and shows that you've really done your homework. And that's why when like brands reach out to me and I know they've done their homework on me, they don't just look at, oh, Melissa has 401,000 followers, but this is what she posts about. Those are the companies I want to work with that really invest the time in learning about me as a creator versus they simply see the number of followers and then are like, oh my God, I have to work with you. So the relationship has to work really on both ends.
I love that. And we're definitely going to clip that. And I just put that as the banner. Show enthusiasm, not desperation. And again, we're talking a lot about job search. It's the same thing. If your dream job is to work at Apple, show that you are excited but not desperate, because desperate comes off in the wrong way. And nobody wants to hire or work with desperate. They want to work with enthusiastic and excited. And even you can see Tyler here, one of the, shout out to Tyler, a good friend, and he said, show that excitement, show it through the email. Pull examples that they did on other platforms, something that you've done, get the brand bought in, get them excited. On the other side of the table, if you're a brand or agency, get the creator excited to work with you. Oftentimes, your competitor will be reaching out to the same creator or influencer set. So why are they going to choose you versus the other brands or creators or brands or agencies, especially if there's a category exclusivity clause where now you're going to get blocked out from partnering? Get them bought in, show that you are here to chat with them, that you're excited, that you want to meet them, that you have ideas, that you want them to brainstorm collectively. Those are the best partnerships.
Yeah. And also the other thing I would add is have confidence, right? So when I reach out to brands, my message by no means ever comes across arrogant or boastful, because I'm certainly not either, but it's more confident. Like I am confident that a partnership would be really advantageous for the two of us. It's almost like, when I always say to my clients that are looking for a job, when you're interviewing, come across as confident. Don't come across as desperate. People want to hire confidence.
I love that. And switching gears for a second, as we're almost wrapping up, and if anybody has any questions, definitely throw them in the chat. But one thing that I noticed from you, Melissa, is you post in LinkedIn groups. You can see here the Emotional Intelligence Network.
Yes.
And you can see here one of the most crazy viral posts of this entire group was your post with 73,000 likes. And it was a post that you made 2 months ago. And there are 900 or 800,000 members in this kind of group. So is this a growth hack? Is this a strategy? I mean, I've created it for years. I've never posted in a LinkedIn group. Why do you post in these groups? And is this something that I should and the people listening should be doing?
Yeah. So I'm friends with one of the I don't say moderator, but she like runs the group behind the scenes. And so I sent her a post like 2 months ago and I was like, yeah, I mean, I talk about emotional intelligence a lot. I talk about my emotions a lot in my posts and like leadership do's and don'ts. That group is very geared, I think, toward like EQ and leadership. And I've managed people for 25 years. So like, I feel like I had a lot to offer. And I did a post for this group and it went crazy viral. And so I decided just to keep at it. But what posting to that group has done is it has allowed me to connect with people internationally, because there are so many people within this particular group. And it's one of the more popular, well-known LinkedIn groups. I've met a ton of people internationally. And I've been able to engage with, like, I call them new friends, right? New friends that I met from this group. So I think LinkedIn groups is a very underutilized feature. I only post to a very few select groups. Leadership Think Tank is another one. Maybe once a month I'll post there. Keep in mind too, with groups, usually the admin has to approve your post. And so I know for like the EQ group or the group you just showed, I was told that only 5% of the people that actually submit a post to go live actually get their post approved. So just be mindful, most of the groups, you can't just post and it's going to be on there. Someone from the admin team has to approve it. And trust me when I say like 95% of these do not get approved. But yes, that particular post went viral, crazy viral. And I remember after I posted it, like my number of followers just went like through the roof. So I think that's another strategy for people that are looking to increase their followers is post to select groups. Be very strategic about the groups you post to and make sure that the groups are in your wheelhouse, and understand that not every post that you submit is going to get approved.
Another thing, Melissa, with your content that I was doing research and I've just known for the last kind of couple years that I've followed you, is every post that you make evokes so much emotion. And one of the stats that I think is so crazy about your content is one of the hardest data points to get is shares, and getting someone to not only love your post so much, and I'll get rid of some of the filters here, to not only love your post so much, to not only engage with it, but to share it with their own network. I mean, that is probably one stat that's the hardest to get. And if you can get those, and you average 291 per post, which is insane, almost 300. I'm lucky to get a few. I mean, those are difficult to get other than your team members, your employees, friends, whatever it may be. So how have you been able to get people to really share your content? And I think, I'm assuming you're going to kind of lean into the emotion that you evoke, but what is it that people are sharing around your content?
I think because I post about real things and I'm very vulnerable on the site. I post about my own situations, my own struggles with mental health, my own struggles with working for a toxic boss that threw my life around, completely threw my life upside down. I posted today about always, as a leader, always backing up your team. And that post seems to be doing very well. I don't ask, there's a lot of people that are on these engagement pods, and like, I've never done a pod. I don't believe in pods. I have a ton of people reach out to me and say, will you join our pod? I will not join a pod for various reasons. All of it is just authentic. And I think it speaks to people really resonating with my posts. I've never paid someone to share. I've never paid someone to comment. There are people that have reached out to me and said, I want to pay you if you comment on my post. I want to pay you to share my posts. I've never had a conversation like that with anyone. I think it's just simply, it's authentic material, and it seems to resonate with a lot of people. I really think that's the secret sauce.
It's amazing. And again, every post that you make is something that people want to share, want to talk about, believe in, and they can relate. I think relatability is everything. If you can get someone to share it, they relate to it, and they really are echoing what you're saying. So I love all the things that you mentioned. Yeah. One of the last questions we have, Melissa, as we kind of end the full hour today, and it flew by, there's so much more to chat about in the future, is a question from Bree talking about a live event strategy. And this is a great for both creators, brands, and agencies in the audience. So this is a great final question to end on. And she said, are LinkedIn Lives more advantageous than a private webinar, let's say on Zoom, that require an email sign up? She's trying to build her email list, and thank you. What are your thoughts?
I think if you're trying to build an email list, I think it's fine to do that. I have never done a private webinar where I've collected email lists. It's something, I'm not against it. And I'm sure if you're looking to build up your email list, then I think it's a great idea. I've just never done it because I don't really have a need, at least at this point, to like, I guess sometimes I'm like, I really should build an email list if something happened to my LinkedIn account. But I know that a lot of people do the private webinars for that reason only, so they can create and kind of grow their email list. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that.
But just thinking about, I guess, what your objective is. Maybe if it's more so on followers, stay on LinkedIn, get the reach there. If you have an email list and you want to grow it, nurture it, take them off platform, but you might lose people who are just scrolling on LinkedIn to engage and kind of follow you. So thinking about your objectives. Amazing.
Yes, exactly.
30 seconds left, Melissa, rapid fire. What is your one final piece of advice for creators, as well as brands and agencies, thinking about deepening relationships and partnerships with creators and doing something new on LinkedIn around events?
I think that anyone on this call who is thinking about doing an event, I would say do it, right? You have to start sometime. You have to start somewhere. Just make sure that your event has a topic that is going to be attractive to people, right? My events are geared around job search strategies, tips, and tools. It depends what your background's in. It depends what's in your wheelhouse, but you want to make sure that it is going to provide value to the people that are listening to the event or who join. I would continue to do these LinkedIn Live events and not get paid because I truly believe that I'm helping job seekers. And you want to make sure that it's authentic. And again, you're providing a lot of value, and it has to be in your wheelhouse. So for example, I couldn't do an event on marketing because I don't have a marketing background. It has to be something that you're intimately comfortable talking about, that you're knowledgeable about. I would say you got to just start somewhere. When I did my first LinkedIn Live event last November, I was scared to death. I had no idea how it would go. It went crazy. I think we had like 11,000 people, like I said earlier. And after that 1 hour, I said, you know what? This was not only so much fun, but I gained a crazy amount of followers from that one event. I thought, I'm just going to keep on doing it. And so every time I do a LinkedIn Live event, it's with the interest of helping the people and providing value for them. That's the most important thing, is that you don't have an event just to do it. You have to be able to provide value to the people that are going to take the time to listen.
Amazing advice. And I would also just add to that incredible advice that they're harder to do. They take more time.
They do.
And less people will do them, and less people, meaning less creators, will pitch brands about events. Less brands and agencies will do them because they take more time. They're harder to set up. So if you want to go above and beyond and build those deeper relationships, again, think about something new. I mean, yes, LinkedIn overall in terms of creators is a new platform, but how can you have a unique partnership with a creator? And you're chatting for an hour. And again, Melissa, obviously we were friends before this, but I feel like now we're even better friends because we spoke for an hour versus just chatting via email, paying you via Stripe, making a sponsored post about our company, and you're on your way. You forget about me tomorrow, right? This is how you deepen those relationships with creators and brands.
Right. Exactly.
Amazing. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. And we'll share the recording as well. And thank you for being on Money Mondays.
Yeah. And I just want to say, everyone on this call, if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. If you don't follow AJ on LinkedIn, everyone, you must follow this man. He's the real deal. Follow AJ. He's awesome.
Thank you. And again, see, you caring more about your audience than you care about yourself. I love it, Melissa. And you're such an incredible inspiration to the creator community. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. And thanks everyone for joining.
Bye.
Okay, bye.